What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got Dustin Poirier responding to Colby Covington's call out, Kamaru Usman on the chances of a Canelo fight, and much more. Dustin Poirier calls Colby Covington's call out cute, says he needs to fight welterweights. Colby Covington called out Dustin Poirier immediately following his big win over Jorge Masvidal last week in the UFC 272 main event. Covington used his wrestling to dominate Masvidal over 25 minutes and came away with a unanimous decision victory. His call out of Poirier was slightly expected given that the two have had a fierce war of words over the last year. Now, a week after Colby's call out of Poirier, the Diamond was asked about the whole situation in the UFC Vegas 50 post-fight show, and he said this.
It's cute, you know?
Good way to put it.
Yeah, it's all good. It is what it is. You know, people want big fights. That's a big fight. He wants a big fight. You know, obviously he's not in line for the title fight. He lost twice to the champ, so he probably needs a few more wins. But I would think, you know, if you want to get back to that strap, you got to fight welterweight contenders, you know.
Poirier is coming off a loss against lightweight champion Charles Oliveira this past December, having been submitted by a standing rear naked choke in the third round, after knocking down the champion in the first. It's unclear what's next for Poirier, but he does go on to say in this interview that he's actually not sure if he'll move up in weight or stay at 155 pounds. He has previously stated that it's on site with Colby, given that Chaos has continuously smack-talked Poirier's family, including calling his wife a Jezebel. Poirier is opposed to all that type of trash talk. But what do you make of Poirier's response to Covington? Do you want to see this fight happen? And how do you think this actual fight would go? Kamaru Usman believes a fight against Canelo Alvarez would be different to Mayweather-McGregor. Kamaru Usman is 100% down to fight pro boxing champion Canelo Alvarez in the sweet science sometime later this year, perhaps even next year, but he is making clear that this is what he wants. Usman, the welterweight champion with 5 title defenses under his belt and undefeated in the UFC, is ranked as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the promotion. He's been calling out Canelo for a few weeks now, despite having a looming welterweight title fight against Leon Edwards scheduled for later this year, after he heals up his broken hand. Canelo did leave open the possibility for this fight to take place, saying he'd be interested. But it's unclear if this would happen, not only because the UFC is not really keen of having their fighters compete in stand-up fights outside the promotion, but also because Canelo could perhaps be fighting Gennady Golovkin in a trilogy fight around September if things fall into place, which would be a massive boxing bout. Still, Usman believes this fight with Canelo will eventually get done and that the UFC will be amenable to the bout. Heck, the UFC did allow Conor McGregor to fight Floyd Mayweather in boxing back in 2017, a fight that drew a lot of attention, especially with the momentum garnered from their promotional world tour. Usman believes that the Mayweather-McGregor fight was incredibly defensive, mostly because Mayweather is a defensive master when it comes to boxing, allowing the fight to come to him and making sure he's always multiple steps ahead of his opponent, and with McGregor, that was no different. By comparison, Usman believes his potential fight against Canelo would see a lot more action. This is what he said about that in a recent interview with MMA Junkie's Danny Segura.
I'm always marching forward to fight. So is Canelo Alvarez. He's marching forward to fight. He's not sitting here just trying to dodge punches the whole time. Even though he does dodge punches, he's not trying to do that the whole time and just be making a defensive fight. He's coming to fight. I'm coming to fight. That's going to be and it's not just that. We're both the pound for pound best at the top of the sport right now. That's never ever been done.
Usman's right. A fight of this caliber has never been done before. The pound-for-pound best in one martial art against the pound-for-pound best in MMA. Usman believes that Dana White will be able to make it happen, and that it wouldn't be an issue to make the fight happen. But what do you make of Usman's comments here about how this potential fight will go? And if this fight does take place, who do you have your money on? And do you believe it would go the distance? Conor McGregor and Pauli Malinagi in war of words online over Jake Paul. The backstory between Conor McGregor and Pauli Malinagi's fallout starts in 2017, with McGregor gearing up to fight boxing legend Floyd Mayweather in a high-profile fight. The Notorious One enlisted the services of Malinaggi, a former multiple-time world boxing champion, to prepare for the bout. Malinaggi is no slouch. He's a veteran of 44 pro boxing bouts. He held titles across 2 weight classes. Still, in the lead up to the fight, McGregor's team released sparring footage of the two, which Malinagi took issue with, given that he was clearly knocked down by McGregor and seemed to have gotten the best of him in those exchanges. Malinagi believes the footage was released to make McGregor look good and him look very bad in comparison, all to help drum up more hype for the fight. Malinagi went public with his displeasure, and the two have had an ongoing feud ever since. This brings us to today, as footage of McGregor doing some boxing training was released online, and while Jake Paul chimed in, criticizing McGregor's technique and saying he would knock him out, Malinagi took the opportunity to also throw shade on McGregor as well, saying this: "I agree with Jake, Conor is light work." To which McGregor quickly replied with a photo of the sparring session a few years back, with McGregor standing and Paulie on the ground, and a caption that read, "I left you like a little seesaw." To which Paulie then replied with a video of Nate Diaz submitting Conor back in their March 2016 encounter and hashtags that read, #Piñata, #NoBalls. McGregor has previously been in talks to fight Manny Pacquiao last year, until those discussions fell through in the wake of his first loss to Dustin Poirier early last year in their rematch. But he's now nursing a broken leg and looking to get back in the octagon sometime this summer. Meanwhile, Malinagi hasn't fought since he dropped a unanimous decision to Artem Lobov in bare knuckle boxing in 2019. Before that, he had dropped his last pro boxing bout to Sam Eggington in 2017. What do you make of this exchange between McGregor and Malinagi? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest fight news. Thiago Santos released a statement after loss to Magomed Ankalaev. Thiago Santos dropped a unanimous decision to Magomed Ankalaev at UFC Vegas 50 over the weekend, in a bout that was largely wanting in action. Santos was able to knock down Ankalaev in the second round, but he just couldn't capitalize on the opening to put Ankalaev away. For most of the fight, both fighters were hesitant to engage in the striking, although Ankalaev was able to pin Santos up against the cage several times and seemed to be more of the aggressor, chasing after Santos for much of the fight, while Santos seemed to be waiting to unleash counterattacks. Ultimately, it wasn't enough for the one-time title challenger, as Santos lost the decision. In his post-fight statement on Instagram, he's not offering up any excuses, as he posted a photo of himself with a caption that read, "No words about yesterday, no excuses, another hard and painful defeat. Still, my faith in God remains unshakable, and my gratitude to Him, my family, my friends, coaches, and true fans only increases. Thank you for everything." Santos was only one scorecard away from defeating John Jones for the light heavyweight title back in 2019, but since then, he's gone 1-4 with his lone win against Johnny Walker this past October. With his recent skid, it only serves to drop him back further away from title shot contention. What are your thoughts on the Santos-Ankalaev fight, and what do you make of Santos' statement here? Alexander Volkov remains in the UFC London headliner despite visa concerns. With the ongoing crisis in Ukraine over the Russian invasion, it's unclear if the UFC will actually be able to have Alexander Volkov head to the O2 Arena in London, England on account of visa issues. Volkov, the number 6 ranked heavyweight in the UFC, is scheduled to fight in the UFC London main event on March 19 against England's own Tom Aspinall, the number 11 ranked heavyweight. A member of parliament in the English capital said that the UK will, quote, "not welcome national sports teams from those countries who are complicit in Putin's unprovoked and illegal invasion of Ukraine." As of this past weekend, it looks like Volkov will indeed be fighting at UFC London, according to this fight card released by UFC Europe. In the co-main event, we have another Englishman, number 7 ranked featherweight Arnold Allen against number 8 ranked lightweight Dan Hooker. This fight is going to be at featherweight, the first time Hooker will be fighting at 145 pounds since 2016. The card also features Paddy Pimblett against Kazula Vargas and Gunnar Nelson against Takashi Sato. What are your thoughts on this whole situation with Alexander Volkov? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. See you next time.